Hey everyone. So we went out tonight and walked in a graveyard because that's the most fun of all, isn't it? And we did do some EVPs. Unfortunately, the EVP where we were, road traffic, you could hear it, and it just destroyed the EVPs. So I'm going to have to invest in a micro electronic recorder with maybe directional mics on it or something. Or yeah. Anyways, so that was that. But we did go out. The graveyard we were in, my family's buried there. A lot of my family's buried there. And that's what happens when you're the youngest in a family, when you're raised by your grandparents. Unfortunately, they don't get to stick around a whole long time. Especially the grandparents that fought in the Second World War and had the misfortune of being in the militaries during the 50s and 60s when they were testing Agent Orange, because the American and the Canadian military decided they would test it on their own men and women, mainly men. So that's that's that. So we did a quick walkthrough. This cemetery also has a lot of people that have mason's marks on their headstones. Now, I don't know if you're all into the whole conspiracy about the Masons and all that. I do know one thing, that I've known a couple of Masons. They don't talk about it, and it is what it is. But these were good people. I mean, I still know them. They're still good people, and they do a lot for the community. They do a lot. I know the Masons that I know do a lot for. They give out hampers full of food at Christmas time, so they try to make sure families got like a turkey and fixings, and so to make sure every family has something, and they do that. Also, the Knights of Columbus is what I'm trying to say. They also do that here. Another very good organization. They give out a lot. They do. These are not selfish people. Knights of Columbus, fellas and ladies, they're good people. So that's what it is. Now tonight, what I want to talk about on my podcast, I've changed the name of my channel from, my name, which I'm an author, and I'll put links up to my books and all that other stuff. So I've changed the name of my channel to Paranormal Traveler, and it was supposed to be Paranormal Travels. Ended up being Paranormal Travel. I couldn't get the S. Don't know why. Just there it is. So it's Paranormal Travel, and we're going to talk about a trip I had. I know it's been a week or two since I've told any, and the last one I told you was about the Desert Dweller. This one here is kind of different. Now, whether you believe in the paranormal or not, or whether you believe in cryptozoology or not, the world out there, we discover stuff every day. I'm just wiping, the cat was on my desk. New species or new variants of species are discovered quite often. I don't know the exact, if it's every day or once a week or once a month, but it's quite often these variants are discovered. Now, at one time we thought the orangutan and the mountain gorillas were the pinnacle of simian life. Well, along comes a scientist digging around in China, and he discovers some teeth. And these teeth are too big for a jaw of any normal gorilla or orang. So the gigantic Pithecus. Well, they talk about Bigfoot or Sasquatch and all this stuff, and people like scoff, oh, whatever. Well, I was coming out of the Yukon one time, and I'm heading back to Fort St. John, Dawson, the Alaska Highway, and all this stuff here. I get down, you're starting to get pretty weary. There's fuel stops along the way, but I mean, you really want to make sure you're topped up pretty good before you leave a fuel stop. You don't ever leave a fuel stop without topping up. Just for the simple fact is if you get stranded in a snowstorm somewhere, I mean, you're going to need fuel to keep from freezing to death. But such is the life of a truck driver. We sat there one time, and I was coming out of the Yukon and run along pretty good. Anyways, I parked for the night and got up in the morning. The nice thing is, you park up there at certain times of the year. As long as you have screens, like my truck had windows in the bunk and it had a screen, so fresh air was beautiful. Shut the truck off, shut everything off, and go to bed in the fresh air. Nice. Anyways, I heard this sound. Now, I've been around, been in the bush more than once, and I know what the sound. So I know what the sound of an animal being hunted sounds like. So the sound of I'll shut my computer there. So the sound of a rabbit getting killed by coyotes is quite unnerving. It really is. It sounds like a child. And the first time I heard it, I couldn't get over that. Like I was about 10 or 11 years old. And couldn't get over the sound at all. The sound is the same thing as a deer. Like, a deer or fawn, they bleat when they're getting attacked. And we've all heard elk trumpeting and caribou and moose. So I was sitting there and I could hear the sound, and I'm trying to place it. Like, it's not a rabbit, it's not a raccoon, it's not anything I'm used to hearing. Then I could hear another one. And it sounded like it was coming across the road, the highway, the Alaska Highway. And I kind of wonder what it is. Like, so it's a mating call? Well, it's yeah, maybe, So I was woke up, and I looked at my alarm clock, and it was like 20 minutes before I had to get up anyway. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just going to get up, get myself a bowl of cereal. And I was lucky I had a fridge in my truck, and so I kept milk and, little things there to nibble on. I would keep lunch and meat and bread and stuff like that in my truck. And when you're running up there, everybody had food in their truck. Nobody ran with no groceries in their truck. Everybody. And I mean, cases of water for coffee. That was just a gimme. So I made myself a bowl of cereal, sat behind the steering wheel, looked around, nothing. Sun's, the sky's starting to get a little light, but, whatever it is and that. Anyways, I was sitting there and I thought to myself, well, this is a beautiful morning. I'm just might have a second bowl of cereal. I'm a big fella. I can handle it. So I sat there and I was about to pour myself a second bowl of cereal, and I happened to glance in the mirror. Now, it's weird when you glance in the mirror of a tractor trailer. If the sky is getting lighter, most guys can pick a quarter out on the ground in their mirror when they're sitting still. We live by the mirrors if you drive truck. it was often joked around that most truck drivers look backwards more than they look forwards when they're going down the highway, especially if you're like me and haul equipment and chains and straps. You're always looking at them chains to make sure that they're still tight. You're looking at straps to make sure they're not getting too sloppy or too loose. That's the way it is. Well, I was sitting there and I looked in the mirror, and just as I was going to glance away, I looked in the mirror again because I thought a grizzly bear was crossing the road. I want to say 150, 200 feet behind my truck. And I thought, oh, that'd be nice to see. Well, the damn thing crossed the road, but it did it standing upright. How tall was it? I don't know. I can't honestly tell you if it's, at that distance in a mirror, if it's going to be 7 foot tall or 5 foot tall. It was tall. It was taller than me, I can tell you that. Well, I'm 6 foot standing there, barefooted. I'm 6 foot tall. So I heard the sound again, and I'm like, oh, don't tell me the bears are. And I quickly convinced myself it was a bear. Rather, to my, I don't know if I did it to just leave, it was a bear on 2 feet running across the road. I don't know if I did it to convince myself everything was normal, and I was, as normal as I could be. So I got out of the truck rather reluctantly. I wouldn't travel without checking my truck, whether it's for flats or checking my chains, make sure nobody had messed around. And when you're way out in the countryside like that, out in the bush, nobody ever plays with your truck. It's old school truck drivers just did not do that. That was an unwritten rule that you didn't mess with a fella's truck, another driver's truck. It's just, no. Today is different. I mean, there's none of that. Used to be a brotherhood. When I started, everybody was your brother. I mean, it didn't matter what company you worked for. If you were having a bad day, something went wrong, you were in a parking lot, there'd be 4 fellas there to help you. It's just not that way anymore. Most of them won't even move over a lane if you're broke down with the hood up on the side of the highway. Just, there's no brotherhood anymore. And so I got out and I watched around. Anyways, I checked my tires and checked the load and walked up and put everything away in the truck, got in, closed the windows in the bunk, slid the window shut in the bunk, made my bed. And yes, you have to make your bed. People laugh at that. You have to make your bed. There's still states out there, not so much the provinces, but I have heard of provinces giving guys a hard time. But there's states out there, if your bed's not made, it's a fine. Now, it's pretty, it's pretty chicken, of a cop to go, well, your bed's not made, I'm going to write you a ticket. He's not there for safety. Safety is the furthest thing from his mind. He's a cashier for the state government is what he is. That's all he is. But we've got a job to do. There's even some places that state you have to have white sheets on your bed. That's how silly the laws are in some places. You can't just grab a pair of sheets from Walmart, and the blue ones were cheap, so I took them. Nope, it's got to be white. Anyways, I go back in the truck and shut everything up, and I was sitting there start my logbook, and I heard this loud, almost like a howling yell. And that was it. I drew my lines, stuffed it in gear, shoved the yellow button in and left. Anyways, that happened on the Alaska Highway in the Yukon. About 1,200 kilometers from Fort St. John up the Alaska Highway. Well, I don't know what it was. I've told that story to a couple of people. They swear up and down it was Bigfoot. Don't know if it was Bigfoot, Sasquatch, a bear, or a mad trapper. But, yeah, it was there. I seen it. Don't know if I'd swear up and down it was Bigfoot, but when people ask, have you ever seen Bigfoot? I always say I might have, but I'm not sure. And when I tell them the story, those people usually, yeah, that was it. You saw yourself a Bigfoot. Well, like I said, wasn't quite sure what it was, but there it was. Now, I'm going to share some links in this podcast. My wife and I went to Wilson Point Historical Graveyard. It's the oldest Scottish Presbyterian church and graveyard in Canada. Now, we walked around. They're finding the old graveyard. It was for a long time, that whole area was abandoned. So the trees grew up through everything. So as they find them, the headstones, of course, are damaged, weathered, and whatever. So they're fixing them all up and that. But there's a couple of paths around that graveyard that are disconcerting, to say the least. My son Logan and I went on one, aptly named the Haunted Trail. And there's an area you come to. It's by a giant white pine tree that actually grows off into three different. But it's the energy there is real heavy, almost oppressive. It's really not oppressive. It's just really heavy, like overbearing. Is what I meant to say. And while we were walking there, I didn't get it on video and an audio, and I'm kind of angry at myself for not getting it on there. But something rapped 3 times on a tree behind us, just knock, 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 really fast. And Logan, we turned around, and Logan said, he said, Dad, it feels like something's coming up behind us. And we turned around, you could hear shuffling in the leaves, but it was definitely a creepy go around. Now, this is going to continue. I'm going to try to get into some abandoned buildings also, and do some work in there. And of course, you guys will see it all. It'll be coming your way. So, as per usual, there, guys. Thanks a lot for listening and tuning in, and keep tuning in. And we'll have something more and more as Halloween comes up. So, and then Halloween night, of course, where we are, right on the water, we don't get too many kids, so I might dress up as a clown or something like that and go terrorize the neighbors or something. I'm related to them, so they'll know it's me. I'm the biggest guy down here. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night. Be good, be kind. See ya.